I'll spend the next 10-15 minutes talking about mental health issues and how to really help elders to deal with various mental health issues, both simple and more complicated, during the COVID-19 epidemic. And I'll also be talking a little bit about how simple things can be done by family members, health workers, and volunteers. Now, the risk of COVID-19 has been covered already by Dr. Arogyaswamy and the former speaker, so I'll not dwell much on that. And I think Dr. Arogyaswamy and the earlier speaker has emphasized how the trends in India are very similar to what is there all over the world. Men being more affected and the peaks being at after 60 and possibly after 85. Now, the risk of physical illnesses and heart disease, diabetes, and so on are very important because this also, as Arogyaswamy has presented, this worsens the risk also of mental disorders. So, if you have a physical illness like a non-communicable disease, your chances of having a mental disorder goes up. So, together with that, the issue of COVID also makes the risk go up even more. So what really makes elders at risk for mental health issues? The fact that you think you're going to have a respiratory problem and you might actually die obviously causes a lot of anxiety, not just in elders, but also in all of us. And that can lead to anxiety, and this is very commonly what is called as the health anxiety, the fact that you get sick. The fact that you are older and you have restrictions on going out means that you will not be able to access essential services, especially health services, so easily, and you'll be stressed as a result of that. The fact that you cannot go to a doctor or you cannot go and see a doctor is something that can stress you out. The fact that elders are not very good at using technology and social media. As all of us know, social contact is important, and it's important for maintaining contact with people, because you cannot actually meet people and talk to them. So social isolation itself is a very important risk factor for all mental health problems. So depression, anxiety, and so on can be set off by social isolation for a long period of time. So the fact that we've all been isolated for more than a month is something that can actually affect our well-being. And the last thing why people are more susceptible is that people who have a pre-existing mental disorder or a medical condition, these things, this mental or the physical condition, can get worse because they're not able to take a regular medication, or they cannot go for routine health checkups. Because of the access and because they're not able to ensure treatment, both the mental and physical illnesses can get worse. Now, the common health problems, and these are very simple, minor problems, are basically fear and worry about your health or health of loved ones. You might also worry that your children, your son, or your family might get sick. Very commonly, you have changes in sleep pattern. There might be nightmares. The duration of sleep can reduce. There can be difficulty in concentration. There can be change in your eating patterns because you're at home the whole day and everybody's at home the whole day. Many times people don't follow a regular routine and they eat as and when they feel like. Now, elders can use alcohol, tobacco, or sleeping tablets for anxiety or for getting sleep, and this can be a real mental health problem. There can be a feeling of boredom or feeling imprisoned. Now, because older people cannot even go out, many directives say that they should not even go out outside the building or into the park for a walk. But I think that's not a big issue as long as they are not meeting people. And people can have more serious problems, which is diagnosable psychiatric illness like anxiety or panic attacks. Anxiety can be about uncertainty about the future. Anxiety can be about death or dying, especially in unnatural circumstances, without access to relatives. As all of us know, when you go into the hospital, if you have COVID, you cannot have your relatives with you because they'll also be isolated and you will be quarantined. Now, worsening of pre-existing mental diseases is a problem because, as I mentioned, elders very commonly have depression, especially if they have a non-communicable disease. And for various reasons, delirium and dementia can be also common, especially with physical illnesses. So in delirium dementia, elder is not able to remember, they have memory problems, or they have cognitive problems. And the risk of infection to COVID-19 and its complications are particularly worse in people who have delirium dementia, because they are not able to comprehend the fact that they have to wash their hands, or they have to maintain a distance, or the fact that they must they must wear a mask. So these things are very incomprehensible for people who have a cognitive problem or memory problem. And social isolation and poor social support, not having help from neighbors and friends, leads to more caregiver burden and hence poor management of the mental illness of the person who's got an illness. Suicide is a seriously anticipated problem, as seen earlier on in the 2003 SARS epidemic, where the number of people with suicide, elders who attempted or completed suicide, went up. Now, elders living alone in their own homes or even in old age homes or residential facilities is a special kind of problem. And these people are more vulnerable to mental health problems and risk of COVID infection. The fact of not having enough space, not having enough staff in these homes, there are challenges in implementing these preventive measures. And there are also challenges in picking up the warning signs for COVID-19, either COVID-19 infection or mental disorders which are coming on newly. And the effect of having a lot of mentally ill people, the other inmates, their own poor mental health and physical conditions are indeed risk factors. In addition to that, poor nutrition, poor self-care, because caregivers are not available and staff are not available, these are new issues. So in terms of management, what can we do? What is to be done? Some of the management issues are actually common things that have already been covered by the first speaker. So I'll not dwell too much on them, and she has spoken a lot about that. General principles of management is that all of us know that we don't want people to come to the hospital. So defer hospital visits, especially for routine or minor issues. So you rather call your doctor on a phone or a video conference, or even on one of the social media platforms, maybe on Skype, and talk to your doctor if you have a minor problem and try and sort that out. So in NIMHANS, we've been doing that in the geriatric clinic. Right from March, we've been calling people up and talking to them, or we have provided helplines which they can call up and talk to us if they have any minor, either physical or mental issue. Increasing awareness about mental health issues among older adults and family members are important. So volunteers, health workers must actually call up and talk to elders, many of the senior citizens fora, using social media or using emails or SMSs, and actually make people aware of both physical and mental issues that happen with COVID. Utilizing community health workers or trained social workers for screening mental health issues, especially in old age homes and residential homes, is very important at this point of time. But if you have a more serious psychiatric emergency, like somebody is at suicidal risk, or has got severe depression or agitation or stupor, or there's a refusal of food, or somebody is confused and delirious, then they will have to be taken to the emergency room with adequate precautions, and they'll have to be seen. So in our hospital, in the last 1 month, we've been seeing at least 3 or 4, on an average 3 or 4 old people into our ER services with serious psychiatric problems. Now, there are some simple home-based interventions that you can do to reduce infection, and this has already been covered by the first speaker. You need to stay at home. Other family members need to go out and purchase material that is required for the house. You need to avoid visits by any relative or friend, staying either within the city or outside. I had one elder saying that, oh, I'm going to visit my my son and daughter-in-law who was staying in another part of the city, and I said, see, you shouldn't be really doing that. He said, no, they are all right. There's nothing wrong with them, and I'm just going to. So I said, it's not advisable at all, because you don't know who they have met, and you don't know who else you will meet in the process of going and meeting somebody. So you should ask people not to come to your house. You should ask relatives and friends not to come to your house, especially if you have elders. Even if you don't have elders, you should not be doing that. You should not be socializing. You need to take your usual medication for your physical illnesses properly, and also your pre-existing mental conditions. If you have depression or anxiety earlier on, you should be aware that you should be taking these medicines regularly, and also be aware of early warning symptoms that might happen. Maybe sleep disturbance, maybe irritability, maybe some anxiety or depression. If they're coming up, then you need to worry about it. You need to have medication stock at least for a month. You need to, because sometimes it's difficult to go and get the medicines, or a particular drug may not be available. So you need to tell your pharmacy that they need to stock this for a month, and you need to have these medicines in the house for your elder person at least for a month. Following disinfection procedures is already mentioned, so I'm not going to talk about that too much. But I think it's very important for elders when they are meeting people in the house to also wear masks. You might say that, especially when some of the younger people are going out and coming back. So when they're in contact with people, even in the house, it's not very easy to maintain this distance of 1 meter or 2 meters. So I think it's good to have at least a cloth mask that you can wear. Be aware of the symptoms that are related to the COVID-19. If you have cough, fever, and so on. And also, you must have a clear plan as to which hospital you're going to, or where are you going to contact if you have a medical emergency. Now, home-based psychological interventions to manage anxiety, and these are simple anxieties that occur as a result of knowing that you could have COVID, or you could have a respiratory problem, or knowing that you have a physical problem. These are easy to manage, and these are easy to teach using volunteers. So simple things, again, that have already been mentioned. You need to really take a break from looking at the news or to social media. Ideally, it's recommended not just for old people, even for younger people, that you use gadgets only for work, for socialization. That means to talk to somebody online and do a Zoom or do a Skype or something, or for recreation. If you want to play games online with some of the family members in some other part of the country or some other part of the world, that's a good thing to do. But you should really take a break from looking at the news. If you want to see the news, restrict yourself to maybe half an hour a day or 1 hour a day, if you want morning and evening. But most of the time, you'll see that the news is repetitive. It's the same every day. So it's not a good idea to have them do this on a regular basis. Take simple deep breaths. Now, some of the two webinars that are already posted on the NCRD website shows some very simple strategies to relax, square breathing, meditation, doing yoga. These are things that can help you relax. Make sure that you get 6 to 8 hours of sleep. Go to sleep at the same time every day as you would do, and wake up at the same time every morning. Really avoid alcohol, drugs, and sleeping pills. Any kind of medication that you're going to take to relieve anxiety or sleep problems. Practice social distance. I mean, I don't like the word social distance. It's really physical distance, because social distance means that it might also be social isolation. You don't want social isolation. You want to actually be in social contact with people, but you maintain physical distance of 1 or 2 meters. So you must connect with people every day. You encourage that you call up relatives and friends over the phone or video calls. And you also, family members, especially family members who are in different parts of the country or the world, that can actually call up elders every day and talk to them and say, what are your concerns? What are your problems? How are you feeling? Elders have a tendency to not get involved in house matters, but it's a good idea to get involved in house matters. It might be cutting vegetables, it might be folding clothes, it might be doing some things, but that's very important to get involved with the routine of the house. And do enjoyable activities. You would have liked to listen to music or draw or tell stories to these young people, tell stories to your children about the old times, about what happened 20 years ago. You might read, you might do games, there might be board games, there might be card games, simple things that you can play with each other. That is something that you can do, or with people on the net with other parts in other parts of the world. Now, there are some mental health professional based intervention that you can do. These are a little more sort of complicated intervention, but these are things that you can teach, as I said, lay volunteers or counselors. And these can be delivered very easily on the phone or on a sort of social media platform. Giving appropriate information and clarification of doubts and myths is very important, because everybody becomes a WhatsApp PhD expert. False messages are being spread all the time. One day somebody tells you that you can't get it through aerosols. One day somebody tells you can get it. One day somebody tells you can get it through the food. One day somebody tells you you cannot get it. So there's all kinds of false messages going on. So you need to tell people very clearly that this is a droplet infection, and that is the way it is spread most of the time, by being in close proximity with somebody within a meter or two. That is the way it's spread. It's not spread in any other way. Guidance about maintaining a daily routine, physical exercise, doing yoga, meditation, healthy diet, mental stimulation through games and online videos and booklets is very important. Brief relaxation exercises and supportive therapy, especially for more serious psychological problems. For example, you might do relaxation and you might do some mental exercises for people who've got anxiety or depression. That's very important, and you need some training for that. More serious problems, as I mentioned, require a visit to the psychiatrist or to the hospitals for getting medication or for getting other interventions, especially when you have serious depression or suicide or other emergencies.
Now, Dr. Matthew, kind reminder on the timing, please.
Yeah, just the last two slides. Yeah. So, as I mentioned, brief psychological interventions are very simple. One of the things that you must tell elders is that you must accept that these are uncertain times and we have an uncertain future. And that is something that we can all tell ourselves. The fact that you acknowledge that these are uncertain times and you don't know what's happening, what's going to happen in future, is something that we must acknowledge. The fact that you acknowledge itself will reduce the anxiety. Acknowledge what you're feeling today in terms of feeling anxious or feeling upset or tense. And you don't have to judge yourself about what you have not done or what you cannot do. Focus on the things that you can have control over, because you cannot have control over your future or what's going to happen tomorrow. But you can focus on things that you can have control over. For example, what you have control over is a daily routine, having your meals on time, having your medication, going for an exercise, sleeping at the right time, doing all your daily self-care activities and recreation. Don't try to control other people. Just last week, I was talking to somebody who said, oh, there are people in the neighborhood who are walking around without masks. There are people in the neighborhood who are playing cricket. There are people in the neighborhood who are, meeting and talking in the park. So you cannot control them. There's no point getting head up about it and trying to control other people who have other beliefs and other behaviors. You leave them alone. Talk to elders, as I mentioned. Talk to people and ask them how they're doing, how they're feeling. As I mentioned, allocate household roles for everybody in the house, responsibilities for adults and elders. And remind elders about how you tackled stress in your younger days. You might have tried going for a walk, you might have prayed, you might have meditated, you might have exercised. Try and use these methods now, which worked earlier on. Try and use these methods now to tackle your anxiety and your stress. So in final, the take-home messages are that elders are more vulnerable, both for physical illnesses and for psychological illnesses. All stakeholders, family members, relatives, friends, health workers, people in agencies, they must all work together to help elders. Simple interventions, as I've outlined, is very important for family and healthcare workers. They can help. Take your routine medication, identify early symptoms, especially warning symptoms. Stay home, stay safe, maintain physical distance without social isolation, follow a daily routine of exercise, recreation, and sleep and diet. Accept the uncertainty for the future, but focus on the things that you can do, things that you have control over. And use, above all, coping methods that worked for you in the past. Thank you very much. Thank you very much for having me at this talk of the NCRD. Thank you.